Go Saturday afternoon. Saturday afternoon. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Conservation Conversation. This is the first show from 2021, and I'm very excited. Today, we're going to cover a few of my favorite topics, including animals and including vegans. And a shorthand for this particular episode is Veganimals. So, without much more waiting around, why don't we go ahead and start the show off? Oh, there we go. Veganimals. We are back. Wasn't the most smooth transition. That's what happens. Anyway, I'm very excited. I don't know if you guys are familiar or not, but January is a month that they have been calling Veganuary. So Veganuary is a time when we like to talk about vegan things. And being a vegan, I don't really talk too much about it. I try to discuss it sometimes. When we're talking about certain topics. But today is going to be a very special day because we are going to talk about how we mirror the animal world and what we can learn from the animal world and learn it the right way. And by the way, if you still haven't grabbed a mug, you can go to my website and get them. We just started offering them. I'm very happy to say that, and it'll help promote and help keep the show up and running. Also, if you haven't gone to YouTube, and please click subscribe so you do not miss any upcoming videos. And this week, actually, we have a bunch of things that are going to be happening. So it's going to be very exciting. So, you know what? Before we always start the show, our favorite thing is to begin with a quote. So let's go ahead and start today's quote. Today's quote is, "They are not brethren, they are not underlings, they are other nations, caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and the travail of the earth." And that is by Henry Beston, who is a naturalist who wrote a lot. He was up in Cape Cod and has incredible books. And completely, if you're not familiar with him, completely worth checking it out. His writing is fantastic. So, a lot of times we did a video about this before, but there's this sort of reverse, I can't say it, reverse anthropomorphism that we tend to do with the animal world. And we tend to use expressions like dog eat dog and it's a jungle out there. Everything tends to be focused on the idea that somehow the animal world is dangerous and somehow the animal world is carnivorous. But today we celebrate the herbivores. We celebrate two of the strongest animals in the entire animal kingdom. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about the difference between a carnivore and an herbivore, and then also talk about humans and see how we fit into it. So the first thing that I would like to bring up, even before we begin, is a lot of people may already be familiar with this. We tend to, even before we get into the specific animals, I wanted to first talk about the differences of carnivores and humans. So the very first one is we can talk about our hands. Now, what you'll notice here is it's very true. Carnivores have claws, and that is to grab hold of the things they need to eat, the prey they need to eat. We have hands that are actually designed to grab things like apples, oranges. If you think about it, it's pretty amazing that almost every piece of fruit fits in your hand perfectly, not by accident. And, we have a lot of fantastic animal relatives that remind us of this all the time. And just look at the comparison of the two hands. Now, please keep in mind that we're going to talk about gorillas today, but gorillas are 98% human. We share 98% of our DNA. We only have a 2% difference. And the reason I bring that up is because gorillas are one of the largest herbivores, one of the largest ones out there. So let's see who we've got coming in today. Let's see. And hey, with us today, we have Coralie. Hey, Coralie, I'm really happy to see you on today with us. And we have Camilla. Hey, Camilla. I don't think I'll ever shut up about being a vegan. I will always defend the animals. And that is the interesting thing. Being Veganuary, I do want to talk about how humans are very naturally attuned to being vegans. Hey, Vera, it's nice to see you. Thanks for being on with us today. And Mitch, always great to have you on. Always nice to see you on here. And hey, Heather, nice to see you. Another awesome conservationist. And I'm glad you're joining the show today as we talk about this because, again, one of the biggest animals that is out there, one of the kings of the jungle, as everybody knows, is. It almost looks like he's wearing my shirt. That image didn't come off the way I'd hoped, but it is the silverback gorilla. Now, we're all familiar with, I think we had talked before when we talked about Dian Fossey, even though she deals mostly with chimps, but gorillas are an endangered species, and they are on their way to becoming extinct. Now, they are sought out for a number of reasons, but in nature, they do not eat animals. Now, some gorillas, there's only one particular type of gorilla, is known to go and eat ants and sometimes honeycomb. But for the most part, they're all completely vegetarian. Now, the reason that they're vegetarian, and we talked about the hands and the claws, but now I wanted to get into some similarities to show you how the humans are the most similar to our relatives, the gorilla, in a few different ways. But first, we want to talk about digestive systems. Now, you'll notice that each particular type of critter has a digestive system. Now, there's a non-ruminant herbivore and a ruminant herbivore. Now, ruminant means basically that they have four parts of their stomach, and they're very complicated stomachs. Now, if you look at a non-ruminant herbivore, that is pretty much what we are. And in order to bring that up to a little bit more of a point, I wanted to show you guys this, which I thought was really interesting. Again, it's non-ruminant. So if you look at a basic vegan animal, what you have here is an extremely long intestine. Now, the reason is it takes a long time to digest plants and to get the nutrients out of the plants, whereas a carnivore has a very short intestine filled with very high stomach acid, designed to dissolve and eat the meat quickly before it goes bad. But animals that eat, and humans also have the exact same design, where we have a very long intestine, and the idea is that it's going to pass through over and over and over, and it's going to slowly but surely have the nutrients taken from the plants. So our physiological makeup is the same as vegan and animals. And again, I wanted to bring this up because so many times we tend to associate ourselves with carnivores. I'm the pack leader. There's always this kind of weird view on animals that I think is kind of off, and we never pay enough attention to the vegan animals. And I noticed it one day because I had saved a rabbit in Los Angeles. And I was looking up, what do I feed a rabbit? As I just pulled him out from underneath this parked car. And, I didn't know exactly what to feed him. And I realized he eats the same thing that I do. So in a way, like, people would always give me a hard time about eating rabbit food. So yeah, I guess it's warranted. And I'm happy to do so. Hey, Mom, it's good to see you on here today. Thank you for joining. And let's see, who else do we have here with us today? Danielle. And Danielle, good morning from California. I hope you're doing well out there with all the fires and winds and everything. And I do have to say, my mom always tried to get me to eat vegetables as a kid, and I did not eat them. And I tell this story all the time. When I decided to go vegan, it was so hard because I hated all vegetables. I'd never eaten a vegetable, really. But so the change happened mentally, and then it started physically. Whereas my mom has always eaten very healthy, and she has a very good healthy diet. So, I wish I would have learned more from that when I was younger while she was trying to teach me. But now I crave my veggies. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining us from Florida. I hope you're doing well down there. I know you're out on the front lines, and I hope you're safe and doing well. And let's see, Mitch says, yes, so closely related. Exactly. We back to the gorillas, 98% shared DNA, which I think is amazing. Let's see, my mom going to try YouTube. Okay. And you know what? If anybody is having a hard time with my live feed on Facebook, please go to the YouTube station. It usually will work out. And Mitch, yeah, it's really neat, isn't it, to see the physicalities of that. Okay, there you go. My mom's on YouTube now. And she's letting you know it is a true story of the last person in the world you think would be a vegan. But there we are. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Now, another thing that I want to show you all that is a comparison of carnivore versus human is a skull. Now, this is a standard carnivore skull, and you've got these little, you can see where the teeth are implanted. And these are the types of teeth. You'll notice we do not have these same teeth. Their incisors are front teeth. They use them for cutting. And if you look at your front teeth, they have a little bit of ridge, but they're really just for getting through like an apple flesh or something very small. They're not going to be used to tear or cut through flesh like a carnivore skull would. Canines, now the canines, people tend to think that we have these canines, but we don't. Herbivores also have these smaller versions of canines like humans have. And those are just designed to help kind of grind up some stuff. But if you're a canine, those teeth you need that can rip and tear into your prey, whatever you're designed to eat. And that's the thing, is it's all nature. We don't choose these things. Nature physiologically designed us to have a certain place within the food chain. Now, the fascinating teeth, I thought these were interesting. If you look at the one on the far right there, the carnassials, these are specialized teeth only in carnivores, and they slide past each other and they create this scissor-like motion for shearing off the muscle off the bone. Kind of a gross thing if you don't eat meat to think about. But I just wanted to point out the fact that carnivores have teeth that we do not have. So by nature, some would argue we're omnivore. I find a lot more similarity to the herbivore, to the herbivore animals. And again, I wanted to just bring up this image is one of my favorites. This is the gorilla finger and the human finger, and they have very similar, as you can see, very similar unique prints. So again, 98% human, 2% gorilla. So we are very, very, very closely related. Now, we've talked about the intestines and how they work, how we're physiologically designed the same as herbivores, whether it's our hands that are meant for gripping and holding things, or it's our teeth that are meant for chewing, but not necessarily ripping and shredding, but chewing. And then we also talked about, which I thought was the most interesting, the design of the herbivore and the human being similar. But one of the other common myths that I find fascinating is the use of, people say, well, cavemen used to hunt animals. Well, recently they've been doing a lot of discovery, and what they have found is that it's not quite that story. Cavemen mostly were gatherers. Now, the spear, which is what I wanted to bring up, everyone has the image of the spear, and this is the image that people like to claim that, there is a caveman running around with a spear trying to kill things to eat. And that is very easy to fit into our modern mythology. But what they have discovered very recently is that spears were actually designed to, basically, when cavemen were in their caves, animals would wander in and sometimes kill them or eat them. So they designed these long sticks with these points at the end. And they would stand back against the back of their cave, and they would hold the spears up and use them as a defense weapon, not as a weapon. So, it's kind of interesting. I'm curious what you guys think about this. Where you think we fit in the animal world with the other things? A lot of it would recommend that possibly we've just always been food, and then we invented the spear. And then from there, things took off. And I'm not, debating the fact that humans have eaten meat for a long time, but the theory of how it started is not quite that particular way. Hey, Elena, thank you from Romania. I'm glad you tuned in. Bună seara. And let's see, Mitch says, hi, Sally. Thank you for Eric. Thanks. And let's see. So there we go. That is so far the comments. But everybody, please let me know, what are your thoughts? How do you think our relationship fits? as we've seen, and obviously an omnivore has relationship between the two, but I wanted to focus on the animals today, the animals that are vegan. And again, one of the most important ones is the gorilla. It is one of the most powerful animals, and it is plant fueled. Now, there are others that are very well known as well. For example, elephants. Elephants are 100% vegan, obviously vegetarian. They are one of the largest animals in the entire world. And what is another amazing thing about them is that their tusks. I didn't know this, but their tusks are actually their teeth. They're not really designed for going in and doing things, and goring people and stuff like people's imagination always has it. But they're actually teeth, and they're used for getting bark off of trees or sometimes digging up roots. Sometimes as a defense as well, like the spear. It's not an offensive thing. And the other cool thing about elephants is we all know their sound from their trunks, but it's not the sound that is communicating with them. It is the vibration that they are using within their trunks that resonates with the other animals. So I think that's really cool. It's not what we think. We hear the noise, but they're actually communicating through vibration. And it has been proven that music has vibration, animal has vibration. We talked about ions, positive and negative ions, and how they can affect you on a physiological level by being around them. And so we know that the energies in nature do translate into things that we sense and feel. Our sensory organization, it's not just sight and sound, but it is feeling of the things around us. And it really is important. And I think it's cool that one of the largest animals in the world is a vegan, the elephant, and uses vibration to communicate with each other. By the way, here's another thing that we share. Elephants, gorillas, these are all animals that work in social realms. They work in the social world. They live in small communities. They all take care of the children. They never kill intentionally. As a matter of fact, did you know that in gorillas, there are under 10 reported deaths that people were killed by gorillas ever, since people started finding gorillas and meeting gorillas? And that is something really important to think about. The fact that they do not commit homicide. They don't kill. If they do kill, it's generally an accident, actually. Most of the gorillas will give a warning signal, and then if people don't leave, they might bite them. But they don't actually kill people. A lot of people die from the bites later. It's very different. But our treatment of our closest relatives is not the same. Now, this is a monkey that I found in Iquitos in Peru. And what they do down there is they tie around their necks. And they have the most crude ways of doing this, as you can see right here. This little guy is being tied together by some ropes, so he can't go very far. With all that dust-looking stuff on him is actually some sort of a dusty rock pile that he was sitting on. So he could jump inside if he wanted to, and I think he had water in there. But when he was outside, which is where he is right now, he was just far enough that he could sit on this rock pile. And the treatment is insane. We do not treat the animal world with the same respect that the animal world treats us, which is basically they just treat us as if we were part of the animal world, not any different from it. And that's something that maybe people forget to remember that aspect. Hey, Ines, nice to see you. Hope you're doing well overseas. I know the corona has been definitely slowing everybody's ability to travel around these days. There we go. Hey, and there we go. Getting the word out. Environmental Truth, Florida 67. Hey guys, it's nice to see you on here. And that is a great group, by the way. Florida 67 is designed to bring together all of the 67 counties in Florida under one movement to try to make a change for clean water. Mitch says, stand your ground peacefully. Exactly. And that's the thing is these gorillas, they don't just, they're bigger. They don't just charge you. Now, I mean, I know that people are killed by elephants, but that tends to have to do with the elephants losing all of their ability to eat because of man-made encroachments into their areas. And then you have them going into villages, or mostly through villages, causing a lot of conflict between the two. So that is definitely a problem that we have there. Hey, Bruce, it's nice to see you on today. Thanks for joining. And, let's see. Mitch says, when backed into a corner, our minds change and who knows what comes next. And that's the difference. That's the 2% that makes us unique, is that we think that violence is an answer. And, in nature, it's not an answer. We always say that sharks don't kill seals. Sharks eat seals because that's what they're designed to do. And that's their nature. And it's not, it's part of what they do. Seals eat fish. It's not because they hate fish and they're going to kill them and they got mad at the fish. It's because that's what they're programmed to do. We, on the other hand, are one of the only animals in the animal kingdom that commits homicide. And that is that incredible 2%. So are we really more advanced? Or are we better to look at our vegan animal friends in the animal kingdom and realize that maybe we can learn from them instead of trying to think that we need to teach them tricks? Perhaps what we can do is learn a little bit more on how nature works within itself. And Mitch said, hey to Luella, and Luella runs the Florida 67 Getting the Word Out Environmental Truth Group. So, today it was very special because, like I said, it's Veganuary. If you're a friend of mine and you're not vegan, there are some incredible vegan recipes out there. I encourage you to look at them. I'm actually going to put one up tomorrow for vegan queso. So if you're watching now and you've always wanted to go vegan, but cheese wasn't a problem, check it out. And, again, we always look at the animal world and we just say, dog eat dog, leader of the pack. We talk about all the dangerous things and we talk about animals killing animals, but in reality, it's not that quite same thing. And so we're putting our projection on them instead of actually seeing where we are reflected in nature. And where we are reflected in nature is with the animals that we share digestive systems with. And one of them is the gorilla, our closest relative. So gorillas are endangered, unfortunately. They're amazing to learn about. There are scores of people trying to protect them and literally losing their lives. I don't know if you guys saw in the news, just recently, there had been a recent attack in Virunga, and more rangers were killed. So because they don't instinctually kill us, but we seem to be always killing them, whether it's for oil exploration, the meat trade, there's bushmeat. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why they're going down in numbers. But again, it really is something that if we think about kindness, maybe we can learn a little bit more from them than us thinking that we are the ones that can be teaching these animals how to behave, and that's a little backwards. Bruce says, not a vegan, but don't drink milk or eat butter and still have still have a plant-based diet. That's great, Bruce. On the topic of Veganuary, for my friends that do enjoy dairy, please note it isn't inflammatory. So if you're not feeling well and you're just uncomfortable, if you reduce your dairy, it will tremendously solve that. Or again, it's Veganuary. There's only about 10 days left. So, give it a try. See what it's like if you just rid your body for a little bit of dairy and just allow yourself to try these plants. And, for some reason, vegans are always considered these weak people. But as we see in the animal world, they are the biggest and the strongest of animals. Hippos are actually mostly not always. That's why I didn't include them originally. But they are usually just herbivores. So, when it comes to some of the biggest animals, horses, it's some of the strongest animals out there. Horses, gorillas. There are a lot of fascinating animals that are all vegan, all plant-based, all herbivores, whatever word we want to put on them. These are the same that we are really in our nature. And again, I just want to bring this back because I think this is a super cool one. If you look at a standard non-ruminant mammalian digestive system in the herbivores, I think it's funny it says humans and herbivores, because I mean, I know that people eat meat, but there's no physiological relationship to meat eaters. Like, I mean, if you look at it, we don't have a carnivore's intestines. We don't have a carnivore stomach. We don't have carnivore teeth. We don't have carnivore hands. We are as far from carnivores as possible. And, you know, I mean, we're just not really built for it. You know, I mean, the first guy that decided to eat an animal that didn't cook it, he was probably sick for quite a long time, you know, because their bodies are different and they have different bacteria inside of them, which is another reason why we have zoonotic disease, because animals will spread and their bacteria our bodies don't know how to handle. So unfortunately, zoonotic disease is a massive issue. We're watching a result of a lot of zoonotic disease right now. But as humans, we mirror herbivores. We mirror animals that only eat plants. We mirror their social structure. We mirror, like I said, every aspect of them, from how our teeth are designed. By the way, with gorillas, we have the same amount of teeth as gorillas. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. So, you know, I think it would be great in 2021. One of the things that I've seen a lot of people doing, and I think it's really beautiful, is we are starting to meld together and understand again that we are part of the world around us. We are not the controllers of the world around us, and we need to start taking the world into account in order for us to survive, in order for the world to survive. And it's something that we have to remember. We are more closely related to the animal world than we've allowed ourselves to think about through literature and through philosophy and through all the things that actually keep us from being gorillas. That 2%, whatever's happening in that 2%, there's a lot of beauty in that. But there's also a lot of problems in that, in the way that we treat our relatives, from our closest ones, the gorillas, all the way down to the souls that you don't really think you can relate to, like a wasp or something else like that. But anyway, obviously, you know, most birds, obviously most fish are herbivores. There are always exceptions, but for the most part, aside from a very small class of animals that are carnivores, nature runs on plants. So fascinating. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful January so far. It was exciting to have a first show back on again in 2021, and just to talk a little bit about our physiological relation to animals and the world around us and how we fit into everything like that. Camilla says, being vegan opens you spiritually as well as saving animals and helping your body heal. And, you know, I think, Camilla, I personally agree 100%. You know, I went vegan because my cancer tumors were growing really fast. And I thought that maybe there was chemicals inside of the meat I was eating. So I would stop eating that. And it worked. I mean, as soon as I stopped eating meat, my tumor stopped growing so aggressively all the time. But then all of a sudden, I found myself more in sort of in the same, you know, there was kind of a new understanding with animals, like they knew, you know, and I've always felt like I'm in harmony now with the world around me, as opposed to previously I always felt that I was battling the world around me. So for me, it's been a very important change in my life, and I highly recommend it. And even if you don't want to go vegan, I highly recommend studying it, checking it out, and at least giving it a try. I mean, it is Veganuary, and if you're a meat eater and you're saying no way, then please at least check out Meatless Mondays and give that a try, because it's the easiest time in the world right now. If you're lucky enough to get your food from a market, then it's easy to just buy one product instead of another, and you probably won't even notice the difference. And again, this only goes to people that are lucky enough to get their food from the markets. I don't want to be judging people that have to live off the land, people that are super poor, that live deep in areas. there are a lot of examples where it's a little bit more complicated than that for us to help bring the world into a slightly better system in harmony with each other. Let's see. Sherry says, you speak of your digestive system being similar to animals. It's all in our gut flora. Exactly. If this affects animals negatively, humans should learn from this. I'm not vegan, but eat more plant-based diet. It helps your immune system. Exactly. Don't do dairy or gluten. Fantastic. And I'm trying more and more. Sherry, that is great. I know that, I'm sure a lot of, health things have brought you to this point. The more you do that with your body, the better you will feel. I guarantee it, because I stopped eating meat in 2013, and I stopped dairy in 2015. And I've just never felt better unless I'm on my meds, cancer meds. Those kind of knock me down and out. Can't do anything about that. But I'm actually trying to now use plants as my medicine instead of continuing my cancer medicine. So, Sherry, I'm really glad to hear that you've made a change and it's helping you. And it's absolutely true. The thing is like a lot of people will say to me, well, where can you get your vitamin B from? Don't, vegans have vitamin B deficiencies? No. What you do is there's lots of natural foods that have vitamin B in it. And you just eat those foods. A lot of times what's happening is people are eating animals that have basically just been eating plants. And then they take it in and then they transform it a little bit for you. And instead of eating one piece of meat and getting, say, like this, and this, us vegans eat this, and this. You have some nuts that helps you with your oils. You have some, some carrots. You have some apples. There are natural elements where you might have to eat 4 things throughout the course of the day instead of eating one piece of chicken, but you're getting them directly from the source, and they're from how the chicken got them anyway. And by the way, I have never had a vitamin B deficiency in all of my blood tests since I've gone vegan. So I don't know if it's just a scare tactic used by the meat industry to make everybody worried that they'll die if they don't eat meat. But I can guarantee you that's not true. Danielle says, would love to hear more about zoonotic disease and our inability to digest certain bacteria. Yes, Danielle, that is such an important topic right now. And we're all very familiar with the famous example of the bat that eats fruits and then is hanging somewhere, and then the little bits of it drop down, and then the pig eats some of the saliva that had fallen, it falls into the pig area, the pig food, and then, because they hang from the top, and then, they eat it, and then we eat it. So unfortunately, there are animals that you just cannot digest. And you know what? This is not just animals. This is fish too. And this is a big danger because there's a lot of fish fraud. And what happens is a lot of fish that live in the warm water, you cannot eat if you grew up in cold water climates, because we actually have different gut bacteria, and different abilities to handle toxins within their biology. So if we eat fish that comes from a warm water climate that we don't know is from a warm water climate due to fish fraud, it's actually caused death and tons of neurological disease issues for a lot of unsuspecting people, which is why fish fraud is very dangerous. And if you do eat fish, you're going to want to really be careful. It's one of the easiest, most fraudulent foods, that's out there. I mean, not to mention all the bacteria, not to mention that they have discovered that fish also have families, live in communities, and can communicate, and are, they're basically the same as the rest of the animal world. Just we didn't understand that because it was in the water. For all those reasons, I do not personally eat fish. But let's see. Mitch says, oh, here we go. All right. Yeah, Mitch is the weekend guy. And by the way, everybody, definitely go check out Mitch's group, Weekend. It's all about unity and making a change. And the thing is, if we can all unify and eat a little bit healthier, we can actually change the world around us. A lot of the deforestation has to go to cattle grazing in Brazil. It's insane. There's so many things around there. Camilla says mushrooms give lots of vitamin D. And that is very true. Mushrooms are so good for you. Even 20, 30 minutes of sunlight will assist in getting some vitamin D. And Camilla, if you have any good links, by the way, for people that want to try to learn a little bit more about vegan health, I would love that. And if not, I will put some on when we're all done. So if you're curious, you can give it a try. I promise you won't shrink away. Remember, gorillas, elephants, horses, some of the strongest animals in the world, and, are vegan. So being vegan doesn't have anything to do with it. Meat has nothing to do with strength either. And Danielle says, good point. Fish and coral eating fish. Exactly. It's a massive issue. It's a massive issue. So we were designed to be able to absorb certain foods. And as we talked about with that long digestive tract, physiologically, we're designed to absorb plants. I think it's interesting. It's not like if you eat spinach from another area, it's going to make you sick, or if you eat romaine versus spinach, you're going to get sick. It's, it's certain animals, like there are bats that you should not be eating. There's a lot of animals that have incorrect bacteria. Monkeys are one of them. People eat monkeys a lot, especially when I was in the Amazon. It's another massive issue in Africa. And, a lot of people remember it is how AIDS started, was bushmeat, which was monkey meat, being sold in the US and the EU as other forms of meat that people unexpectedly ate, and our bodies could not handle dissolving that bacteria. So Mitch says, meats may not have been intended to be GMO, but now it is most of it. Exactly. We are what we or they eat. Eat GMO, become GMO. And that's a great point, Mitch. There's a lot of endocrine disruptors inside of pesticides and GMO. And all of those are used in live animal production. So another great reason to consider this Veganuary, consider going vegan, even for just a few days. Camilla says, I think more than just regarding animals for food, they are here on earth in their own right. Their lives are theirs, not ours. I agree 100%. I think that is beautifully said. And, that I want to bring that back to the quote real fast again that we had in the beginning, that the animals, they're not brethren, they're not underlings, they are other nations caught with ourselves in the net of life and time, fellow prisoners of the splendor and the travail of the earth. So we are sharing this world with them, and we need to give them the respect that, again, we do not. And that is mirrored over and over and over. And unfortunately, as we see, our closest relatives are all on the way to extinction. So one way we can change that is by how we eat. Just to wrap it all up, positive solutions on what we can do. Remember, when you go vegan, you are changing a lot of things. For example, we all know that orangutan populations are almost extinct due to palm oil. And palm oil is used in way too many types of foods. So if you're going to go shopping, please just look and see if it has palm oil. If it has palm oil, please don't buy it. Vegans always say you can eat Oreos. Oreos are filled with palm oil. Oreos are very destructive. Doesn't matter if they're vegan. They're not helping the animals. If we're going to be vegan, we have to save the animals that we can, but we also have to save the animals that are out in the wild in the future. We need to reduce our plastics. That is another fantastic way to help the animals out there. So a lot of these animals, we can actually stop the extinction just by what we always talk about, revolution through routine. Just changing a few things here and there. Try to buy less plastic. Try to avoid palm oil. If you can avoid the burgers, avoid the fast food chains. I mean, the fast food chains are some of the biggest deforesters of the rainforest in Brazil right now. It's just that simple. If we can change our habits and show companies that we want something different, they will give us something different. They're not designing stuff and then forcing it on us. They're just trying to go with what they think we want. So remember that your dollar matters. Remember that what you buy matters. And you can change things by showing companies what you want and what you don't want. And the more money that gets funneled into eco-conscious eating, and you can't go wrong if you're just buying apples and tomatoes and you're doing your best to get organics at the store, you're going to be in good shape there. So Mitch Allen, we must always remember that the human, animal, mammal. Exactly. We're part of it. As we always say, it's not ego, it's eco. We are part of the world around us. Sam says, if anyone wants help going vegan, try out Veganuary. Exactly. I appreciate that, Sam. You guys can go ahead and hit up Sam and get some advice through it. It's not easy, and it's a different way of thinking because our industry does not think in vegan, but a lot of vegans now are changing the way the industry is thinking, and we can all do it one by one. Remember that everything you do matters and has a huge carbon footprint and has a huge imprint into animals' quality of life. So we have these simple solutions that we can change the world with. We don't have to go make an NGO and go out into the field and fight. We can just change things by what we buy. So, please, again, I ask you to reconsider getting a burger from the fast food chain. That is deforesting. There's the palm oil issues. There's so many issues going on. And not only to mention that in Veganuary is a great month for us to think about animals as conscious beings that we do not want to cause pain to. It's just that simple. Not everybody will agree with me on that, but that is why one thing that I like about being vegan. I do believe that they are all conscious, and I do believe that they can feel pain, and I believe that they can feel fear. And my life shouldn't cost anyone else's. So Luella says, Mitch, busy with school and kids and staying home. Luella is an amazing in the field activist. Luella I got to meet Luella when I was down in Florida. She is one of the most incredible people, so well educated, understands the need for solution-based approaches to problems, which is always what we're about here on the Conservation Conversation. So Luella, Mitch says, let's have a call soon. So you guys need to get back in touch for sure. So anyway, I hope everybody has enjoyed today. We talked a little bit about where we fit in as humans, and we're just so much more like herbivores than our standard lore tends to say. So, we just have to keep that in mind. We can change the story as it's known, and we can do that by allowing other sentient beings to live. It's Veganuary. It's the time to talk about it. There is nothing good can come out of something else dying for us to continue living. It's not an equation that we need to be part of. And again, our physiological body's not even designed for it. So I ask everybody to please consider Veganuary as a time to give it a try. Go look it up. You can just look up vegan.com. It has a bunch of great stuff on there. There's a lot of resources. You can contact me if you want to know more. I'm more than happy to give you some links and some support as you give some change to it. But for the animals and for the fact that they are sentient, we ask you to give them peace. For your own body, we ask you to treat it as a temple that it is, and to treat it with the way it was meant to be treated. And for the world around us, we ask you to consider veganism. At least try it out this month, because it also creates a way smaller footprint on Earth's resources. Sam, Cowspiracy is great to watch for environmental impacts. Absolutely. That's a great documentary. Cowspiracy is great. and it is important because we have to remember that everything we do ripples out and changes the texture of the world around us. And we all can make a change just by how we are day to day. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. It was really great to be back. If you can, keep your eyes open this week. We have a couple of great announcements. I've been working on 2 new projects that I've had to keep under wraps, but I'm going to share them with everybody this week. So I'm very excited to bring everybody in on what's happening. And Sam's made me go vegan instantly. Oh, yeah. Good. That's great. See, Cowspiracy. That's the beauty. Great documentary. Mitch says, let us be good, or at least better stewards of Mother Earth. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Sam, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you, Camilla. Thank you, Mitch and Sherry. and Andrea and Elena and my mom, Sally, of course, and Bruce, Michelle. It's really great to see everybody here. We have such a great community that's forming, and it's just exciting to be back and seeing you guys. And I hope you enjoyed learning a few interesting little facts about how similar we are to our relatives in the animal world. And when you think of the animal world, think of the vegans and think of their strength, their power, their beauty, their grace, and their cooperation with the rest of nature. All right, everybody, it's our world. Let's talk about it.